So today I'm going to talk to you guys about my debt-free journey. I'm currently in month four because I think I started really taking it seriously September, October of last year, right around when I started working at the school that I work at now. And so, give you a summary, I've paid off close to $1,200. I've paid off $1,200. I owe, at the start of my debt-free journey, I owed about $6,000. I'm currently at about $4,800. It was about $6,000, just under. And then I've paid off about $1,200 between when I started and where I'm at now. And so my goal is to be debt-free by the end of the year. I think it's a very realistic goal, given what I just told y'all about how much I actually owe, the progress that I've made thus far, and that's also accounting for recently I had my car breakdown. So I'm currently borrowing my mom's car, and I'm working on getting my car fixed. So I'm still kind of figuring out how much that's going to cost on that end, and so that might boost that number a little bit more, depending on whether or not. Current train of thought, depending on how much it costs to get the car fixed, is going to determine whether or not I'm fixing the car or I'm just buying a new one, which would obviously affect my my overall end goal of being debt-free. And so some of the things that I've learned. Currently, I'm kind of following the Dave Ramsey's debt snowball plan. I know people have disagreements with it. I understand. I think for me, it's the thing that's given me structure that I can work with. Again, I'm fortunate that I don't owe a lot. And even at the beginning of last year, I didn't owe a bunch. It's been just, unfortunately, one thing after the other. So like beginning of the year, last year, get surprised by a Duke bill out of nowhere for $2,000. So factor that into my debt, and then factor in some shady practices by some phone companies, I'm not going to say who, where they'll sell your debt and it just continues to snowball. And when you don't know as much, like for me, when I was starting, I didn't know anything. Didn't know that was how the game was played in America when it comes to debt. And so all of that aside, there are things that I could have done, and this is where the accountability comes into play. There are things that I could have done to prevent those situations from getting to the point that they did, and I didn't. And so I have to take the onus on that end of it and not play the victim game, even regardless of how terrible each situation might be. I have to be able to stay grounded and be like, I'm not playing the victim game, because that's not the place that I want to be, X, Y, and Z. Because it keeps me in a victim mentality as opposed to actually doing something to change it and impact my life in the way that I want to have it changed and impacted. And so all of that being said, currently I'm following the debt snowball plan. I plan on sticking it through. I'm going to stick it through. Not even I'm going to stick it through. And I'm going to share with y'all what's been helpful, what's been challenging, where I'm at in this journey, and not just like how much I owe, but what has been changing in terms of my mindset when it comes to money, what's been changing in terms of my mindset when it comes to what I spend, how I look at even investing for gear, whether that be music gear, videography gear, all of that. I'm going to share my insights on how that's all kind of been shifted and changed simply by pursuing being debt-free. Give you a little backstory. This is helpful context. I grew up in Zimbabwe. I was 14 when we moved here permanently for the last time, 14 and a half. So I had to learn how to save early on, because if I didn't save my money, I was going to be walking home. And we're talking an easy 5 to 10 miles back home. And so had to save money for public transport. So that helped me build the muscle of saving money. I currently don't have any credit cards. I've only had a credit card for one point in my life. And I'm better off without it. Simply put, I didn't have a crazy credit limit on it. It was like $500. But when you go from like if I don't have the money for it, I don't buy it, to having a credit card with a $500 limit, and then emergencies happen, and you're just like, well, I got the credit card, so I can just pay. It's real easy to fall into that trap and then end up doing some damage to your own credit score and all of that. And so now I don't have a credit card. I don't know if I'll ever. I don't know when I'll go back to having a credit card, or if I'll go back to having one. But at the current moment in time, I'm very happy and very content with operating my finances the way that I am, because if I don't have the money for it, I don't buy it. If I can't afford to go out, I don't do it. I just stay home. I make do with what I have. The beauty of being a creative is my brain is always creating, whether that's music, stories in terms of writing as a videographer. I have a playground just because my brain is just creative. And so it allows me to do that. And it's been helpful to have like video games. Like, I think there's a lot of misconception about why guys game. And for me, it's like, I work on average, like I'm working 60 something hour weeks. So that little 2 hours that I play at the end of the night, like, it's not hurting anyone. I need it for myself just to like decompress, so that when I get up and I go work and I bring my best self, I'm coming from a refreshed place, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so that's kind of how I've been operating in terms of like finances, outlook, and all of that. Like, that's kind of a little bit of my background. What have I been tackling on this debt-free journey? The first biggest thing that I knew that I had to kind of, if I haven't mentioned, I am kind of taking the Dave Ramsey's debt snowball plan, where you tackle your debt smallest to largest, but you have to save a certain amount of money and put that in your bank account so that you've got an emergency fund of some sort. And so did that, and because I had kind of, like, there was stuff that I was already paying off before I officially started the debt snowball plan. Because of the fact that there were things that I already had started paying off, I just kept up payments with those, because those were on an automated system. And so that was super great, made it super easy for me to like keep up with things and make sure that things were getting done in a timely manner. And so that made my life a lot easier. So now those are I've paid those auto payments off. There's a couple more that are just automatically, like the Duke one is an automatic payment plan. And so that's one where I'm paying my electric bill as well as the new balance, if you will, at the same time. Other things that I've been kind of tackling with this is like the biggest obstacle that I've kind of had to overcome is my relationship with money. Because I'm used to operating on very thin / no margins, like if I told you how much I could live off of because I've done it so often, it would be shocking. Like, there are months where like I've paid rent, I've paid bills, and I don't go out, I don't see anyone because I don't have any money. And that's not like, that's a thing where like it's a healthy restraint, if you will, but also learning to have a healthier, like assessing and being like, okay, well, I do need to increase my income so that I can actually so I can actually enjoy life, right? That's become a thing that I like really prioritize and take care of. Is like, okay, cool, like it's not enough for me to just work to pay bills. It's important for me to work, save up so that I can also enjoy life, because you only get one of these lives. And that's something that I definitely like have like learned the hard way, especially over the year. And so currently, if I've already said this, forgive me, but currently I owe about 4.5, closer to 5. I've paid off about $1,000.2, and my goal is to be entirely debt free by the end of this year. And so we've talked about the variable of like what the car payment situation is going to look like. I'm factoring that in, so that might shift and change my goal of like, or it's not going to change the deadline. It might shift where my budget and my financial priorities are, if that makes any sense. And so with that in mind, kind of looking around, My relationship with money has definitely changed, especially over the last 5 years, because I've been taking slow and incremental steps over the last 5 years to get to a place where I had more, I could pay off the debt. I've been paying off bits and pieces, been paying off my student loans over the last 5 years, started them out at like 3 something, or not student loans in the traditional sense, but like what I owed to school. Started at about $3,000. Now I'm down to about 1,000, 1,200-ish. So something that I'm proud of. I know that'll be done pretty soon, and I'll be able to be like, I'm done with school payments. The surprise Duke bill, that's another story, but that will be done in the next few months because I've been staying on top of the payment plan that we set up. And so that is a whole other conversation that I just don't have the energy to have right now. When I look at my relationship with money, there's been good, like going back to the point of scarcity and operating on thin margins. It's funny, as I've been assessing where a lot of my money goes, I've kind of had to like reorganize. I've made a budget that is like, this is how much money I need to live to be able to still be able to save money, enjoy my life, enjoy going out occasionally, do nice things, but also at the same time make sure that I'm staying on top of paying off my debt. And the number that final number was kind of shocking, because I was like, oh, it's actually a lot more attainable than I thought. And that I've just been forcing myself to live on very little, because I was willing to, I was trying to do so much more, as far as creativity wise, that I was like, oh man, I'm not going to pick up any part-time work because I need to make sure that I free up as much time for creativity as possible. And this funny, interesting thing that's happened is, like, I work part-time as a music teaching, as a teaching assistant, a teaching artist, teaching assistant, at Aiken for their hip hop production class. Shout out to Refresh Collective. And this interesting thing of like, because I know that Mondays and Fridays, I cannot do any, like, I'm going to be so spent by the end of the day. It's forced me to make the most out of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, rather, because all of those times that I would waste just chilling, not really doing anything, now I have less margin of, like, I have less room to waste time. So if it's something that looks like I'm like, okay, cool, I'm working hard at this, but I'm not getting a certain amount of output out of it, I've become a lot quicker in my decision to be like, okay, I need to cut that off, because that's not, again, whilst I want it to be this thing, it's not that, it's just wasting time. I need to reprioritize. And that's a thing that's come out of recognizing, like, yo, like, essentially 20 hours of your week, including if you factor in drive time, it's about 22 hours of, like, just because you're dealing with traffic, all of that back and forth, yada, yada, yada. You're now looking at, like, okay, you're down 20 hours a week. You still run a video business. You're very much a creative, and you very much are writing music, and you're very much passionate about putting that out. You need to make the most out of that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, because it's still 5 days out of the week that you have. Now, in the busy seasons, in the summer, Saturdays kind of tend to fall off that schedule. So it ends up being like, realistically, you're working Monday, Friday, Saturday, occasionally Sundays for your businesses and work that you know is going to be consistent. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday also end up having more things attached to them. So it's forced me to really look at where my spending is going, where my time is going, and how I'm approaching my time. Am I being diligent in the work that I'm supposed to be doing? Am I sticking to the schedule and all of the things that I've said that I'm going to do? Am I sticking to them? And so that's been a benefit that's come out of it. Another one was, it's like a big benefit has been like reassessing my dreams and my visions. I'm going to use this I'm going to use this story kind of like to illustrate. But a friend of mine, Rachel, and we work together on her social media content. Super glad to be working with someone that trusts me, and trusts me to share my insights and like empowers me. She's phenomenal when it comes to doing that stuff, and it's been really, really encouraging. And we do our end of year meeting where we look at what worked well from what we did the previous year. What do we want to do this year? What are goals that we have in mind? Where we're trying to go? And we'll set personal and business goals. And it was in that moment where we're sitting and she like asks what my goals are. And like I tell her what my financial goals are. And she looks at me and she just goes, bro, you're shortchanging yourself. And like, it's really helpful to have that, to have people in your life that call you out when you're shortchanging yourself, because it forced me to really look at like my potential, what I'm capable of doing, and ask myself of like, why am I so comfortable setting like goals that I know are super achievable, and I don't want to push myself further past that, at least when it comes to like the finance aspect of it. Like, yeah, I'm content. I know how to live on a very minuscule budget, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, that being said, like, bro, there's so much more you could do because you have the ability, and like before you're doing too much. And so having people in your life that call you out and like, yo, stop shortchanging yourself. As I've been attacking my debt and kind of I'm seeing this power and this like ability to like dream bigger start to kind of develop, of like, because I know that's something that's weighed so heavily on me, of like, I just want to be debt free. I want to be debt free because I come from a culture where we prioritize doing everything with like the money that we have versus like, we don't do credit cards in Zimbabwe. And so for me, like, I didn't realize how much that was holding me back, in the sense of like, oh man, like, I'm so focused on like, I just want to get debt free, that I haven't thought about what happens after that. And so as I've been thinking about that, and kind of whether it's following the Dave Ramsey steps, whether it's following people like Anthony O'Neill, there are different people that are really financially astute that I can learn from, that I'm starting to kind of like, that I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to listen to what you guys are saying, and I'm going to implement it to the best of my abilities in my current position. And I'm going to make those steady steps forward. And so it's been incredibly exciting to be like, okay, like when you pay off this debt, what are big dreams that you know can't be done in the next 15 years, but you still want to set them for your 60-year-old Daniel, or your, you know what I mean? Like your 55-year-old Daniel, your 75-year-old Daniel. What are things that you know that with all the experience that you've garnered over the years and the things that you're learning as you continue to build going forward, what are things that you want to do for your life that are going to be so different from everyone else's life going forward, that you just want, like, you want to put yourself in a best position to win? I always talk about future Daniel and I talk about past Daniel, and like, I'll joke with my friends and I'll be like, if I discover that I did something like in the past and I was just thinking ahead, I'll be like, thank you, past Daniel, because like you were really looking out. And it's those small little things that I want to do that kind of make me go like, okay, cool. Like if I can already think on that scale at this point in time, I'm excited to think about like, if I'm dreaming bigger and dreaming larger than life and just continuing to exercise that muscle, what am I capable of? What are dreams that my finances, my current reality is keeping me from being able to fully dream and envision is the word that I'm looking for. What are dreams that I want to that I can't fully envision at this point in time, that if I give myself that space, I'll be able to like achieve. But it starts with me being faithful, or being like focused on this journey of being debt free. And so those are some of the things that have come out of this pursuit of being debt free. I'll keep you guys updated on where it's going, how much progress I'm making, any stumbles along the way, because I know that's part of like learning guitar. Like I'll use learning guitar as an example. Like it took me years to get to a point where that took years to get to a point. I wasn't able to do it 5 years ago. Wasn't able to do it 10 years ago. Damn sure wasn't able to do it 15 years ago. And it all takes time. And so knowing that there's obstacles along the way in getting better at practicing, getting better at that thing that you're pursuing, and just giving yourself that space, that's been something that I'm also like super, super excited about. And I'm excited to share that with y'all. So I'm going to share with y'all updates on where the progress is, what I've done well, what I've done poorly. Yeah, all those months where I'll like go over my food, my eat out budget. I'm going to talk about all of it because I think it's important for us to share the process and the journey that we're on, not just for ourselves, but importantly to help other people be able to get to their goals and their end destinations. That's all I have for today. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the vlog. You guys are the best. And I will see you guys next week, same time, with the end of January update. Appreciate y'all.